Good afternoon. Right, good evening, good morning, whatever the expression is. Welcome to understanding how you and others receive information, which is through Odyssey, the platform. Glad to have you here and glad that you're watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, I am going to go through some technique, not really some techniques, but some information about how you can communicate more efficiently, essentially, with both yourself and also with your nearest and dearest by understanding certain things. So if we jump in here, if I can actually get this to work. There we go. Okay, so as we know, each of us are unique divine beings. And how we receive information and how we see the world is very much unique to us as individuals. No two people are essentially going to see two events the same. So how we interpret our version of the world, or our model of the world, as it's called in NLP terms, is through a collection of beliefs, values, filters, desires, experiences, expectations. How your model of the world is always going to be completely different to my model of the world, because we've all had very different experiences. So you don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are. Which I think is really important just to note, just to highlight and remind us essentially of how unique we all are. But it also goes a long way to us understanding that when we're having a conversation or when we're communicating with another, how they see the world is obviously going to be very different to ours. So from a therapy point of view, when I work with a client, it's not down to me to say to anybody, well, this is how I would do it. I'm always essentially listening to how they live, what their values are, what their beliefs are. And if they believe the sky is pink, then I'm happy to work within that ballpark. If they believe that they've had a past life experience in a different world, on a different planet, who am I to judge? I am just here. It's all information. So if you have an event and a few people have been part of that event or witnessed that event, each person will provide a different description based on their own perspective of that event. And their description is always going to vary to another's. So in terms of examples of this, there was a story that I was told many moons ago where there were two brothers, and they had a father who was essentially an alcoholic, and they both had this experience of living with an alcoholic parent. And as they grew up and went their own merry ways, fast forward many years, you've got one who's become very successful, he's got a family, he's got a home, and you've got another who has also become an alcoholic and lives a very different life. And when they were both asked why this happened, or why they were where they were today, they both responded with similar responses. How could I not, from my experience? But essentially they had the same experience, and they both took that information, and one used it to change the narrative, change the ancestry, if you like, change the way their life could be. And the other one was very much like, well, how could I not be like this? Because this is all I know. This is what my father's modeled to me, etc. So I hope that goes to sort of clarify how we all live in our own, we all have our own model or map of the world. And understanding this just allows us to be a little more compassionate, maybe, around communication. So when you know how you are being, or you understand how you're being because of your values and your experiences, it does offer the flexibility to identify and step into another person's model of the world just by hearing where they stand and what's important to them. And this will evolve more as we step through this process. So in NLP, oops, let's not jump ahead. We work with a system called a representational system, which is, again, how we receive information within our world. So it's loosely based on the 5 senses, which of course, touch, feeling, seeing, hearing, etc., etc. And we use our senses, obviously, daily to receive, process, and represent information. And we tend to have perhaps 1 or 2 overriding senses, so overriding ways of processing information, receiving information. When you understand this about yourself as well as others, it adds into their model of the world, because you understand not only how they live, but also perhaps how they take in information. A bit like if anybody's read anything on love languages, it's a similar thing. Your love, I think there's about 5 or 6 love languages, how you like to give love and then you receive love. Very interesting to look into if you haven't already. And also similar to, I guess, the sort of attachment styles, the different attachment styles we can have. And all these modalities are just different ways of learning more about ourselves. And of course, the more we learn about ourselves, the more empowered we are as humans. So as with anything, take what you need, leave the rest. So it's empowering to understand your own representational system. And it's also really, really helpful and empowering to understand another's, especially your nearest and dearest, perhaps people you work with, children. And so what we're going to do in a moment is sort of start to understand how we process information. And it's essentially your job to make sure that you're understood. So if you're working with somebody that works in a specific modality better, then you can possibly explain yourself in a way that becomes a little more easy for them to understand, and deliver the messages you want to deliver. So there are 5 representational systems, and we'll go through them in more detail, but just to give you an idea, we have the visual person. This is a person who not only will sort of take information in visually, visualize a lot of things, see things. If you're talking to them, they're likely to literally see things, but they're also going to vocalize things like, hey, I'll see you soon, or it's unclear, words to that effect. So they are literally speaking in visual terms. Then you have auditory people. So they're going to process information through hearing. Does it ring a bell? Might be something they might say. Talk to you soon. Another. Then we have auditory digital, which is your internal dialogue. So this is self-talk, how you talk to yourself, perhaps in your head. Most clients, when they come to see me to talk, they're often in a bit of an AD state, as we would call it. Perhaps the word state is perhaps not quite right, but basically they're often in their heads because they're doing their problems. So, they've got a lot of self-talk going on. And we can all oscillate between all of these on a day-to-day basis, but we will have overriding ones that are a lot more prevalent. And then, we have kinesthetic. So kinesthetic people are all about the feels and their feelings. I have a great friend of mine who is very kinesthetic. I'm sure she won't mind me sharing, but I've done some work within my other business, interior design, with her, and she says to me things like, I just need to have carpet that feels like a couch. I need my bed to just feel so inviting and cozy. I need this to be a sanctuary. But kinesthetic speech could be like, let's keep in touch, grasping the problem. And so, yes, very much in the feels. So these are the 5 rep systems that we work with in NLP. So I'm just trying to move something off my screen, which I can't. Let's see if I can move that. No. Okay. So how do we decipher this information? So this is based more on, doing well today. You can tell he's a techie, can't you? So this is how we get to learn how people receive information. So we're just going to work on it in terms of, actually, this is if you were looking at somebody. So when they're talking, somebody is talking and they are looking up to the right in front of you. They're in their visual. In fact, if they're looking up in general, they're generally visual people. I'm actually a visual person. I don't know how much I've been looking up during this because I've not had an awareness around it, just did it then. So most visual people are going to be, when they're trying to remember something, they're going to look up to the right, and they're going to be they're going to look up to the right when you're looking at them. Sorry, I need to get that clear. So this is like you're looking at this person on the screen now. So they're going to be the remembering information or images, they're going to be recalling images, or they're going to be constructing them. So if somebody says to them something like, "Ooh, how would you imagine this bedroom would look if it was painted sky blue pink?" They're going back to the interior side. Then they're possibly going to be looking up to their left because they're constructing images within their mind. Let's ignore the red type for the moment. People that are auditory, that are basically taking in information, literally are going to be through their ears. So they're normally going to have, when they talk to you, they're normally going to literally be in this whole area. Their eyes don't tend to deviate up or down. They're very much here. I've got a great friend of mine who's auditory. She is huge on always listening to podcasts, always got her music on, always kind of just in that space, listens to everything all the time. So again, if the person in front of you is looking to the right, then they are remembering sounds, recalling music or something they've heard, a phrase. And if they're looking to their left when you're looking at them, they're possibly constructing it. What would it sound like if I barked like a dog? And they're sort of thinking about it. I'm in visual again, I can feel it. They're thinking about it. An auditory person would be looking to one side. And then you've got the internal dialogue. So somebody, when you're facing them, if they're looking down to the right, they are all in their head, normally all in their head, processing, thinking, chewing over numbers, being in logic, trying to work out, having a chat to themselves. Often when people are in that state, it's very obvious because they're actually almost disconnected from the conversation you're in. So anybody that is really in their head, they will be in their own world when they're looking into that space. And then you've got people, if you're staring at them and they're looking down to the left, who are all in their feelings. And that's either because they've got feelings coming up or because they've tuned into their feelings. So there are caveats to this. I haven't actually quite got my head around this myself, actually, but because I'm a left-handed person. So the exceptions to the rule are that left-handed people's sides can be reversed. So worth a consideration, actually. And the more you kind of practice anything like this, if you're intrigued by it, the easier it becomes, the more naturally you do it. There are, I think it's meta programs. You can actually do tests to see where you are online if you want to, but actually just having a consciousness around it, you might pick up your own representational system. But yeah, just be aware of the left-hander. And I would also say, disclaimer alert, that obviously when people are, as you can see from the red words there, potentially people at that point could be constructing. So people in their visual or auditory moments could be constructing stories. So let's not take it as gospel and start yelling at our other half because we see them looking up to the left, and let's not get into that space of like, you're definitely lying because I did this thing on NLP, and because it could be innocent, but it's just something to bear in mind. And ultimately, if you're in a space where you're tuned in and you're trusting your intuition, you'd know if somebody was fibbing anyway. So it's just a little extra in there because who doesn't want a bit of fun? But yeah, definitely don't take that as gospel. So breaking everything down. A visual person will also really enjoy putting pretty pictures onto presentations, just saying. So visual people rely heavily on visuals. As a visual, I can relate to this a lot. Some people will say things to me. In fact, actually, this is how I put together this presentation, because I was talking with the team at Odyssey and somebody said something, I'm not going to mention names, and I just went, oh goodness, it's a visual, I just see all of that. And they weren't sure what that meant. So I said, oh, okay, so let's learn a bit more about these different ways of understanding ourselves. So yes, visuals, if somebody's talking to me as a visual, I can imagine it quite easily. I can see it in my mind. It's very easy for me to visualize in meditation. But yes, as you can see here, you'll notice people, they're normally up here when they're recalling something, or thinking about the wonderful holiday that they're going to book soon, or something like that, as a very bad demo. So eyes looking up to the left when you're remembering a picture or image, recalling a scene, and when they're looking up to the right, they are creating a picture of something that's never been seen, or in a creative visualization space, or possibly lying, making up a visual. And you can identify visual people through their choice of words. I see what you mean. I can't imagine it, which probably isn't the case for a visual, to be fair. And do you see my point? You see the people on this call now are literally thinking, which one am I? So then we have auditory. They'd quite like to get the phone picture in there. And obviously these people are heavily reliant on audio for processing. And again, they'll be looking to the left to remember a sound, or recall a tune previously heard, remember a poem, and looking to the right to imagine one sound morphing into another, or making up a tune, writing a poem, possibly lying or making up words. Making up words is a good one. And you'll notice that an auditory person who tend to hang around in this section will say things like, I hear you, sounds like a plan, or I like the sound of that. Normally these people really love music as well, and work very well with audiobooks, which completely don't work for me because I'm so visual. I need to see the physical pages. So yeah. Then we have the auditory digital person, who is often in their head, looking down to the right. Oh, sorry, down to the left. That's looking down to the left, but obviously when you're looking at it, you're looking down to the right. I'm probably confusing everybody now. So listening to the voice inside and talking to oneself. I think we can all be in that space from time to time. And you'll often notice that they say things like, well, this doesn't make sense, and it's either X or Y. It can be quite logical. Yeah, definitely quite logical people. And in my experience, I find people that do quite sort of logic-based jobs, particularly for me, my family, two of my family members are accountants, and can be very much in their head, largely because they kind of have to be for the work that they're doing. And then the kinesthetic, the feely people. I am also very heavily kinesthetic. When I did a quiz on this some time ago, I pretty much came out neck and neck with kinesthetic and visual. but kinesthetic people are going to be in all the feels, so they're likely to be by default quite like empathetic. Love that word, hard to say. They're going to look down, essentially, when you're looking at them. It's confusing by saying look down to the right, because when you're looking at them, they're actually looking down to the left, but just follow the eye patterns here. So we're recalling an emotion, or remembering, imagining an emotion, remembering a physical feeling, or imagining a physical feeling. So kinesthetic are generally going to feel their way through life. So that they're going to know if it's a full body no instantly, or a full body yes. They're going to know what kind of clothes they want to wear because of how it feels on their skin. And they'll probably express themselves by saying this feels right or feels wrong, and this idea doesn't perhaps sit so well with me, or I feel that. So all in the feels. Intrigued just through going through these, whether any particular one resonates with anybody at this time. Don't actually have a, oh yeah, my chat box there. Yeah, okay. So let's play a little quiz, because everyone loves a little quiz, right? If you guys got your chat boxes open, any idea what Kate is? What Kate's eyes tell you? Promise you it's not a test on how well you're listening. There's no prizes, unfortunately. Just a little bit of fun. Very good. Very good. So, likely recalling something heard before. Then we have, what do we think about Natalie? This one's an interesting one, because I actually feel that her entire embodiment, her entire facial expression kind of gives it away. But then I have been working with this stuff for years, so I'm intrigued to see what you think. I hope if you're watching the replay, you're also having a little go at this. Oh, interesting. Okay. So she's actually looking down to the left when you're looking at her. So she's actually in her feelings at this moment. Looks like she could be really feeling something either quite painful or upsetting. She could also actually, to be fair, have a face like that if she was in her head. So yes. And then one last one. Where are we at with Amanda's eyes? I have no idea if this person is called Amanda. I just named her Amanda. Yeah, correct. So she is recalling some events. She's recalling them from a visual perspective. So that is the exact side that you would look if you were remembering or recalling an event. And a visual person looking in that direction will literally be, if you've said to a visual person, how was your holiday? If you'd said to her, how was your holiday? She's literally gone straight up into her visual aspect of the brain and is recalling her holiday, for example. So, as I said, most of us have overriding ones. They can shift. A lot of people that potentially maybe start out as in their heads because they're working through their problems, or having some therapy, clearing some stuff out, they can often, once they've cleared out the density of that, they can move into being able to feel other aspects more clearly. So they might become more feeling, or they might become more visual, but those feelings may have got a bit blurred by the fact that they're perhaps doing their problem. at a certain time. And yes, we definitely have an element of all of them, but we will have overriding ones for sure. So like I say, I'm not very auditory. So I love music, but don't even come at me with a audible book, although I keep still downloading them, but just purely because the information goes in for about a nanosecond and then just flutters off again. So these things are kind of worth considering when you spend a bit of time to perhaps work out how you process information best. I'm seeing some looking up to the sky actually there, not mentioning any names, which is a very visual trait. So yeah, and and again, by default, if you're quite visual, then the likelihood is that you're going to maybe work in a visual job. Certainly been my personal experience and that of people I know who are quite visual. It's not a prerequisite, but it's often the case. So yeah. Right. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we just covered that, which is great. So it wouldn't be one of my evenings if I didn't get us to do a little bit of embodiment, a little bit of something. So we're going to do a little exercise here. I'm not sure if anybody's done it, but it's just a short one. And I'm going to explain why we're doing it in a second. It's just a little bit of relaxation and coming back onto the body. So we're going to start with our hands, our palms facing up and potentially just in front of the body. And as we slowly breathe in, we're going to raise the palms up in front of us and we're going to follow them with our eye line. So we'll take a big breath in together and then we'll turn and bring our hands back down and I shall demonstrate, follow along with me. So as you breathe in, follow your hands up. Keep your eye on your hands, take them up as far as is comfortable and then turn them over, breathe out, follow them back down, all the way down, nice and slowly, bring them down, just land them on your lap. We're going to do 3 of these. So turning the palms up, breathing in, following the hands up with the eyes, turning the palms and breathing out as you bring the hands back down, following them down with your eyes, landing on the lap, and then one last one, turning the palms up, breathing in, bringing the hands up in front of you, following them with your eyes, turning the palms and breathing out and just gently watching them come back down, all the way down, and just landing on your legs. Just close your eyes for a moment, just enjoy that feeling, just maybe imagining the energy coming from your hands down into your legs, all the way down, and just allowing that energy to come out the base of your feet, drop into the layers beneath you, all the way down into the earth, just down, as far down as it'd like to go today. Just allowing it to land, feeling that connection to the earth, noticing your breathing, noticing how you feel. Just taking a minute or two for you by being here now. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. The technique is a balancing breath. It's very good to get you back into your body, and it's very, very calming. One of the reasons it's calming and how it links back to today is that if we're in a situation where we're stressed or frazzled, we're likely to be in our heads. So we're likely to be in the auditory digital, AD phase, internal dialogue going on, and we're likely to have our head down. Can't work out which direction to do so that you can recognize it. So actually, when we bring the hands up, we're moving the energy and, well, literally moving the energy up, and we're changing our our viewpoint from being down in our problem. We're moving it up into visual. And in doing that, we're just allowing ourselves to see it in a different way, in a different light. So it's a really nice little technique to have in the toolbox, very calming. Definitely do 3. Definitely keep your eyes on your hands as you go up and down. And yeah, and that is basically getting ourselves out of our heads and into our visual, enabling us to hopefully gain a little bit of clarity. Our breathing will help that as well. So yes, homework for everybody. Oh, voila. That is the end of my presentation. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on an NLP journey with me. I am going to answer questions with anybody that's been on the call, and if you're on the replay, join along next time. You can catch this on YouTube, you can catch the replay on Odyssey, and yeah, hope to see you next time. Thank you.